know, me and Reed had our wedding shower, engagement shower, whatever you want to call it, this weekend. And look, man, I've had the privilege of going to like some nice places, right? Like you've seen nice houses, you know, especially traveling and recruiting and doing stuff like this. You see some really nice houses. You see some houses that, let's just put it bluntly, aren't very nice. This house was like Bruce Wayne's house. Like I knew it was going to be, Blaine was there. I knew it was going to be legit. It's so in the horse world where Reed works, there's obviously a lot of affluent people and some good friends. They're unbelievable people too. Put this on at their house. And the house is right across the street from Nick Saban's. Right across the street.
Really?
Like you can see his house through the woods when recruits go there. You can see him line up and get out of the car and walk up to the house, and they can take the dirt road back to the lake. David, you walk in this place. And number one, anytime you walk in a place and there's a really nice old piano that nobody plays to the right, you know
no one was playing it?
Yeah, no one's playing. I don't think anybody's touched that piano. I think this is the one they got off the Titanic. Like that's what
they say. Hold on, they saved the piano off the Titanic.
Yes.
Before people.
It
matters that much.
That's what type of piano.
That's an heirloom.
I think
that's an heirloom.
Yeah, I think like Beethoven looked at it twice or something. I don't know. But we walk in this house and it's like huge high ceilings. Like it's a mansion, is what it is. They had a full service movie theater room in there. So it's not like at my house where you have a man cave with a projector, right? This is like an actual, you walk in, it's got like the red movie theater look, like a projector that's worth about 10 grand. And it's got like the movie, you know, like the movie posters that you see, like the old timey ones, like outside movie theaters back in the day. Well, they're on each side, but they're actually the speakers. But they're covered in like a famous movie, you know, cover or whatever. They have their own concession stand area, like with a cash register, with like, you know, Mike and Ike's and Snow Caps and Butterfinger Bites.
What'd you give,
and a bunch of crunch.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. The house was absolutely phenomenal. The whole setup was phenomenal. But immediately when I got there and got told Nick Saban lives next door, I was watching his house.
Yeah, so you know, there's some questions.
You were on a scouting trip.
Yeah,
you know?
Blaine was up there with binoculars trying to get some answers.
I was waiting for him to carry him out, like 6 guys just carrying Nick Saban everywhere in the car.
So he didn't have to walk?
So he didn't have to walk
Yeah,
or anything like that.
That's smart. That's smart. They're trying to conserve him as long as possible. I don't think he's walked. I think he only walks at practice in the game.
He only walks mentally. That's it.
He just mentally walks. He breaks the mental sweat.
Yeah, mentally walks.
Yeah, but it was full service bar, band, everything. It was the coolest party anybody's ever thrown for me. But just the house, man, like again, like every time I was like Hogwarts, they had bookshelves, you could press a button and they would come out and would show you another room. They had original clippings off the film, not like, you know, like DVD or Blu-ray or any of that stuff. Like back when they used to put the film in a projector and it was like, you know what I'm saying, where like it would go through, they'd have to feed it through. They had the original clips of Star Wars. Like signed Michael Jackson things. One of the doors, they had doors in the house that were signed by like famous athletes. It really gave me something to aspire to.
Look, I'm a big finger foods guy too.
Oh, the finger foods are.
So I had to slowly catch myself just not eating all the little ham sandwiches.
Every time I walked by something.
Probably ate 11 of them.
Yeah, like they had this charcuterie board that looked like stuff like for a king and queen back in the day when they were trying, you know, like the king of France was coming over trying to talk your daughter into marrying him or something for some alliance. Like they had that. Then on the other thing, these little BLT finger foods too, man. They had that, meatballs, chicken fingers, some stuff I can't even pronounce.
Chicken fingers?
Bruschetta. Yeah, man, you didn't see the chicken fingers? No, you definitely had to see the chicken fingers. That's cap. Alabama remains unbeaten despite a shoulder injury to Bryce Young. We'll update you. The NL East is coming down to the wire between the Braves and Mets, and the Eagles are the last undefeated team in the NFL. It's Monday. We got to react. I'm Jake Crane. This is Crane & Company. Let's go. After another wild weekend of college football, the new AP poll saw Alabama jump Georgia to take back the #1 spot after the Tide handled Arkansas on the road, and the Dogs barely snuck by Missouri late. So many people will be asking if it's justified because Alabama's had a couple close calls as well and hadn't played as smooth as what a lot of people thought. But my thinking is, does it really matter? Now, that isn't to say that one team isn't better than the other, but as of right now, they look to be on a collision course in Atlanta for the SEC championship game once again, where we can settle this in a head-to-head matchup on the field. Can both teams be undefeated up to that point? Alabama does look to have the tougher path, as they still have road trips to Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU, while Georgia has to best Kentucky and Mississippi State on the road, and of course, play Florida in the world's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville. Now, Alabama still needs the wide receiver room to continue to improve. They dropped a lot of passes Saturday, but as they get weapons back like JoJo Earle and soon-to-be Tyler Harrell, I see that happening sooner rather than later. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs ran wild against a decimated Hog defense, but can they do that consistently while giving Bryce enough time in pass protection against teams that have depth and ability on the defensive line? That, to me, is the key for Alabama to continue to unlock their potential to try and play their best game. Georgia, on the other hand, opened the year by shredding Oregon and South Carolina, giving up only 10 points in their first 3 games. But after letting Kent State and Missouri both score 22 points and having to pull a Houdini at Missouri to win, the Dogs don't look quite as invincible as one may have thought earlier in the year. Now, both teams are talented, but they have to clean up some things in all 3 phases. Each side has the personnel and depth necessary to win the whole thing. Both squads have coaching staffs who can not only game plan and adjust, but motivate as well. So when the question gets asked who is better, the better question is, does it really matter? Now, it won't be easy sailing for both, but the possibility of this problem getting worked out on the field grows more and more each passing week. And if each team can handle business a couple more times in hostile environments, we will get to see the 3rd leg of this Alabama-Georgia trilogy that started last year. I'm bringing my co-host David Cohn, former quarterback and Heisman candidate, the undefeated Michigan Wolverines. They got by those pesky Hawkeyes in Iowa, which I'm sure we'll touch on. Blaine Crane, my brother, wearer of jean jackets and manila hoodies and cool pants and shoes as well. Former Western Colorado wide receiver. But, guys, you know, we'll have the debate, who's better, Alabama or Georgia? You know, Alabama starts season number 1, Georgia overtakes them. Both teams are still undefeated. Alabama overtakes Georgia. I think the real question is, before we even get into which team is actually better, and these teams will continue to improve or regress by the time that game gets played because they don't play in the regular season. I think one of the best ways to look at it is, Cone, will this get settled on the field 1, and will both of these teams be undefeated when they play each other in Atlanta?
Well, I just pulled up the schedule right here, and first off, on the rankings, I have no problem with Alabama jumping Georgia this week. Remember, it was Alabama who was ranked 1, and Georgia was ranked 2 until what? Alabama almost lost a close game at Texas, right? It was that very close, narrow win that said, oh, you know what? I think Georgia deserves to be number 1. Well, now we've had 2 weeks in a row where Georgia's kind of slipped up, and Alabama proved that they can beat a good Arkansas team by 23 with your backup quarterback playing most of the game. I have no problem with Alabama jumping to number 1, but I will say this. I pulled up the schedule. Texas A&M this week, at Tennessee, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Ole Miss. That 5-game stretch right now with Bryce Young's health in question, you're not winning all those football games if Bryce Young doesn't play. I don't think they are.
No, I'm with you.
Milroe stepped in and did his job, but I don't know if they're winning all those games right there if Bryce Young doesn't play. Meanwhile, Georgia on the other side has Auburn next, then Vanderbilt. Now, there are some common opponents.
Yeah.
Both will play Tennessee.
Kentucky. You go to Kentucky.
Yep, and both will play Tennessee and both will play Mississippi State. So we'll get a little bit of overlap there. But I don't know if Alabama wins all 5 of those games.
Where would you put Alabama? This is kind of an interesting question. I was thinking about this. Where would you put Alabama rank-wise if it was Jalen Milroe quarterback and Bryce was gone? Where'd you rank them?
I'd put them 3.
You'd put them 3 right now?
I'd put them 3.
Well, that begs the question of, well, what are we ranking? Are we ranking based off what a team has already done or what we think is going to happen?
Well, I would say just last week, what you saw from Milroe last week.
If you knew he was going to be the quarterback.
If he's the guy. He's the guy.
Again, I would still rank based off what's been done. I would be fine.
Well, I think to me, you got to blend both, though. When you're doing these rankings, you got to look at what's been done, and then you got to project. I think on one hand, you can say, all right, we've seen Alabama. We know about the offensive line. We know about the wide receiver room. We know about the DBs, the linebackers, and everything. But with Jalen Milroe, and again, Bryce is going to be fine. I think Bryce is going to be back eventually. Obviously, a shoulder sprain isn't something you want, but it's a lot better than absolutely tearing your shoulder apart or having an injury that you know for sure he's out. Now, I'm not a doctor. Like I said the other day, I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I do know that watching Bryce, the way he was kind of acting on the sideline, the way he was moving, shaking hands at the end of the game, I was watching things like that. I think he will be back. But you also have to take into account that Jalen Milroe is going to have to go to those hostile environments. And the playbook is going to have to be shrunk down somewhat. And I'm going to get into Jalen in a little bit. But I do think you can take a little bit of both, Cone, when you're making these rankings. But my point is, do I think that Alabama should have jumped Georgia? Personally, no. Do I understand why they did it? Yes. In my opinion, if Georgia played Alabama right now with Jalen Milroe having to start at quarterback on a neutral site, I would take Georgia, let alone that site being Atlanta, where they play the SEC championship game. So I think you do have to take both those into account. But does it really matter when both of these teams are most likely playing each other in Atlanta? Because even if Tennessee was to beat Alabama on the road, Tennessee is in the East, still have to play Georgia. I believe they go to Athens. Alabama, on the other hand, who is the second best team in the SEC West right now? You would have to say Ole Miss, but you can look because they're undefeated. But I can make a case for Mississippi State. I can make a big case for Mississippi State because they really handed LSU that game. So I think when we look at the rankings, my biggest point is we can argue the semantics. We can argue the nuance of Alabama and Georgia and pick it apart. We do have to take into account Jalen Milroe, knowing that Bryce Young is most likely coming back by the time all this stuff would happen. It's a matter of when, not if. But are these two teams the ones we're going to see in the SEC championship game? I don't see a way in which that's not going to happen.
Yes. I mean, other than maybe Tennessee. Because if Stetson, the thing about Stetson usually has one of these games through the year. It's one of these bad games. We didn't play that well, but Georgia ends up still
You could say you had it last week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he had it last week, and you still pulled out a W, which is huge. So, I mean, obviously the closest is Tennessee, but these teams are going to line up. It's Georgia and Bama. They always line up in the SEC championship. Then we'll find out, and then we'll see a preview of the playoff, unless some Pac-12 team or some dark horse comes out of nowhere. But I don't see a world kind of where both these teams don't get into the playoff.
Well, I mean, talking about the playoff, you look at the Big 12, they're basically eliminated outside of Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State better win. Oklahoma State better win every game. That was a big one. I don't think TCU is going through the rest of the season undefeated. Now, nothing would shock me at the end of the day, and I think Sonny Dykes is a guy we have to start talking about for Coach of the Year after leaving SMU to go to TCU the way that they're playing. But you look at the Pac-12, you got USC is pretty much the team out there.
USC's got to drop.
It's got to be USC. So right now I'm looking at the Pac-12 and the Big 12. USC gets one loss, and I want to go through. We need to pull up the Oklahoma State schedule because I do want to go through that because if they do go undefeated, they're getting in the playoff. But again, I am just looking at it, and the Tennessee game is very, very interesting, not only because of how good Tennessee is, but the quarterback situation in Alabama.
Well, now I'm thinking about it now since you brought that up, and Alabama is in the West, so I guess you could have a situation where if Tennessee beats Alabama, that could be Alabama's only loss, but Alabama still runs the table in the West. And then if Georgia beats Tennessee in the East,
that's exactly right.
Is the tiebreaker. You could have 3 one-loss teams with Tennessee sitting out the conference championship.
I think the possibility of that is very high. I think the question then becomes, well, it works itself out because obviously Alabama would have a loss, but then if they play in the SEC championship game and they beat Georgia, now you have 2 one-loss SEC teams because if Alabama loses the game against Georgia and has 2 losses, they're not getting in. Then potentially you got to look in the periphery and say, all right, could Oklahoma State afford to lose a game and get in? Could USC afford to lose a game and get in? Or will the Pac-12 champion get in? Because I think Clemson's going undefeated. And then you look at Ohio State and Michigan. Now you say, all right, well, if Bama has 2 losses, Ohio State goes undefeated, and Michigan's only lost to Ohio State, or maybe a Penn State sneaks up on somebody. There's a lot of things that can happen. But the timing of this Bryce Young injury with what Alabama has left, with the game at LSU, with the game at Ole Miss, with the game at Tennessee, it's going to get very, very interesting down the stretch here. So I find the discussion and why I wanted to open with that today of, all right, well, is Alabama better than Georgia? Should Georgia have jumped Alabama? You can have an opinion on it. To me, my thing is, look, both teams won. All wins aren't created the same. I get that.
Yeah.
But there are times when you go through the season, and Georgia has struggled the last 2 weeks. They haven't looked great, but they have won the game, and we know the players they have. We know the coaching staff they have, and we know the physicality. But, Blaine, what's the boost?
Do you want that schedule from Oklahoma State?
Yeah, let's hit that schedule real quick, and let's go to the boost.
Go ahead and go that. So they got Texas Tech this weekend at home.
At home.
That's not an easy game.
It's not an easy game, but it's at home. You'd much rather go there, play at home than go to Lubbock, past Texas.
I agree. You go to TCU the week after that.
That's going to get really weird.
Then after that, you welcome the Longhorns at home. Then you go to Kansas State. Then you go to Kansas. Then you have Iowa State at home. Then you go to Oklahoma. Then you have West Virginia.
No.
Who would have
They're
thought
not
Iowa
going
State?
undefeated.
Who would have thought Iowa
Yeah.
State is the most automatic of
Yeah,
the
that's
league?
exactly right.
You got to see a drop in.
There's a loss in there. There's a loss in there. I don't think Oklahoma State's a juggernaut enough. I don't think you can catch breaks enough. I tell you what, I'm continuing to watch Kansas State too, and they're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. I mean, you lost to Tulane, but you look at Kansas State right now, kind of the way they're trending, the way Adrian Martinez is being a dual threat guy.
He's just taking off.
We may look back at this Big 12 standing. If this turns into
Nebraska was just
Oklahoma
holding
State,
back.
Kansas State, Kansas, I mean, the Big 12 is fascinating right now. The Big 12 to
love
me,
it.
the Big 12
Most
to
interesting
me
conference.
is
I
the
think
most
so.
interesting conference, and I could make the argument they're the second best conference. I could make that argument. I could make that
Second.
argument. Let's talk about it.
Deepest
Real,
conference. Yeah, I mean,
no,
Second
no,
is-
not defensive conference overall.
deepest.
Oh, deepest.
Deepest.
Yeah,
Second.
which again,
deepest
that's how you got to grade a conference.
Yeah,
in my
honestly,
opinion.
I mean, go through it. I mean, really, I mean,
Go to the Big Ten. Ohio State, Michigan, yes. Penn State, undefeated right now. No, they only beat Northwestern 17-7, and Northwestern
beat the hell out of Auburn.
You know, they beat the hell out of
Illinois
Auburn,
and
but so
Minnesota are
could
both
you and
playing
9
good, too.
children.
Illinois, Minnesota,
Illinois, Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
not Wisconsin, not Nebraska,
not Iowa.
Not Iowa, not Iowa. Not
Maryland. Maryland's going to be interesting. Michigan State's been
Maryland is still so
disappointment.
weird to me. They're
I
in the Big
always
Ten.
think of Maryland's ACC.
Yeah, it's just still so weird to me that Maryland's in the Big Ten. But
Okay,
what's the Bruce
Yeah, let's go. We got 2 donations.
Let's
We're gonna
do it.
Start with Hunter Fournette with a $5 donation. He says,
Be rich, y'all.
Mansion rhymes with Wisconsin, TYFYS, T-Pain. I don't know exactly what that means.
I
but it
agree.
Sounds awesome.
I agree 100%. I approve that.
We have
message.
another donation from Jordan Kilgo.
Jordan.
He says, $5 donation. He says, is Kansas the real deal? Will they get into the playoff if they drop a game and still win the Big 12? Maybe.
If Kansas, look, we read you Kansas' schedule. The back half of some of these schedules, not
problem.
only Oklahoma State, but Kansas's back half. Look, they've already won. They've already won.
They're ranked, baby.
They're ranked. The season, you've already won the season. Kansas could lose every game from here on out, and people will get a standing up. Lance Leopold should be paying for nothing in Lawrence or anywhere in the state of Kansas. He shouldn't have to pay taxes anymore. He should, now that he got, I'm serious. I think the governor should, I don't know who the governor of Kansas is, but they should call him to the governor's mansion. He shouldn't have to pay taxes. He should get like free Whataburger and like, you know,
Free Whataburger.
he's other stuff. Key to the state, however that goes down, because Lance Leopold has done an unbelievable coaching job, and Kansas is for real. Daniels at quarterback's for real. I watched that defense. I mean, they're winning in multiple ways. And I'm not talking about in basketball. It's like, oh, we didn't shoot good, but, you know, played pretty good defense, got in transition, got to the foul line a lot. No, in football, you know, with the pigskin on the 100-yard field that's 53 1/3 yards wide, Kansas can win a shootout. Kansas can win a slugfest. Kansas has shown they can win when they're not playing great. And that is the truth. And then we got to give Mike Elko and Duke some love, too. Kansas has kind of stolen the spotlight away from Duke. Duke absolutely pulled Virginia's pants down in front of everybody at the high school musical.
I had that game.
Yeah, I know. I had
They
Kansas
covered
plus
for
3.
me.
Kansas is a cash machine. You always talk about you're going to take Georgia to cover, and what's the other one? The under
Iowa
and
under.
the Iowa under. I will always take the Iowa under and Kansas when they're a dog.
year, yeah.
I should have took a money line. Kansas is a cash machine. I've made more money from betting Kansas than I did in coaching in Kansas.
Now, how about now when the schedule heats up?
Well, we're going to see. But depends on where the game is and what the spread is, because I still think Vegas gives Kansas no respect. I still think they look at Kansas and the computer's like, Kansas is still hot dog water. Like when they look at it, you know, the Stephen Hawking voice. But I am going to take Kansas. They're plus 3 at home against Iowa State. Pfft, please, come here.
All right, let's go to M. Hutton. What up, Huddy? He said, would the College Football Playoff Committee put a one-loss non-conference champion over a one-loss Big 12 or Pac-12 champion?
A one-loss non-conference champion?
Or non-Power 5?
Non-Power 5?
Non-conference champ, but let's go with non.
Oh, he's saying
a
non-conference
non-conference
champ.
champion.
So like a Tennessee, if you lose that one game.
I got you. So say it one more time. A one-loss
would the College
non-conference
Football
champion.
Playoff Committee put a one-loss non-conference champion in over a one-loss Big 12 or Pac-12 champion?
No, I don't see that. Now, unless it's Alabama, because we've seen them do that before. But and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if there's a one-loss conference champion that got bumped out that year. I don't see that happening. It would take
A&M?
They were 7-1 that year. It was the COVID year.
Yeah, they lost one game.
But I think it was a
A&M
I think it was a one-loss Notre Dame that got in.
That was the argument.
Was who beat Notre Dame that year? I think it was a one-loss Notre Dame.
Yeah, it was Notre Dame. It was Notre Dame, and it was Notre Dame that got in when A&M didn't with Kellen Mond and all them, and that was the argument. We even made the argument when we were doing the show before this that we believe Texas A&M should have been in, and then Notre Dame got beat like they normally do when they go to the playoff. We watched that movie again. But I don't see a one-loss Big 12 champion, a one-loss USC or Oregon or Utah Pac-12 champion getting snubbed for Tennessee, especially if Alabama and Georgia are undefeated going to the SEC championship. We got to remember this, too. A lot of it isn't just about the one-loss team that didn't win the conference getting in. Was Alabama undefeated when they played Georgia in the SEC championship and either lost or Georgia lost, and both of those teams are in? That would already be one non-conference, one-loss champion in. So I guess if we're talking about maybe Alabama getting in over Oklahoma State that wins the Big 12, that's when it would get fishy. So, like, for example, if Ohio State goes undefeated, I'm just using that cone, calm down. If Ohio State goes undefeated, they automatically get in. Clemson goes undefeated, they automatically get in. The winner of the SEC is going to get in. So let's just say, for S's and giggles, that Georgia wins the SEC and they're undefeated. They're in. So that's 3 teams. If Alabama's only loss is to Georgia in the SEC championship game and Oklahoma State, let's say, drops a game at Kansas State but wins the Big 12, what do you do, Cone?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
You got to put Oklahoma State in.
I feel like you have to put Oklahoma State in, but there could be a legitimate argument to be made that Alabama is the one of the top 4 teams.
People would go
I know.
Nuts.
And to me, part of it for me is if the argument is from Alabama fans in that scenario, or Georgia fans if it were to happen the other way, if they were to say, well, we're better than Oklahoma State and we would beat them on a neutral site right this second, you know it to be true, put us in the playoff, you can say yes to that, but you can also say you had your shot against the team.
What if,
you played the game, right? You played the game in the SEC championship, you lost, and you can't get in. I know last year it worked out a little bit differently because it made sense to put both of those teams in despite the loss.
Well, if it comes down to Bama and Oklahoma State, they do have a common opponent, Texas. Bama wins by 1 on the road. Blaine, where do you saw that Oklahoma State?
They play Texas
at home?
Week after this at home.
They play them at home. So let's say Oklahoma State beats Texas by a touchdown or 10 points. You want to talk about an interesting argument?
Mm-hmm.
What's better, a 1-point win on the road at Texas when you played about as bad as you could play, or beating Texas by 10 points at home? It'd be great fodder. We'd see. Part of me is like, there's no way you don't put Oklahoma State in, but another part of me is like, Nick Saban's the head coach of Alabama,
what will Texas
and nothing would surprise me.
What will Texas have that they didn't have against Alabama?
Quinn Ewers.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly,
Yeah.
allegedly.
All right, let's go to Golf South. Hashtag Ask Crandon Coach says, does LSU with Mr. I refuse to throw the ball more than 7 yards to my receivers at quarterback have a chance this weekend against Josh Heupel and those fighting volunteers?
It's going to be a good one.
There's some great matchups.
There's really good games.
There's some great matchups this weekend, and not just in the SEC. Here's the thing with LSU. And you take it on a game-by-game basis. Jaden Daniels and Blaine, you said this yesterday in the recap. If you hadn't watched the Sunday recap, you need to go do that. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well. With Jaden Daniels, he's a 1 read and I'm taking off guy. If the first read's not there, I'm gone. He is not getting into that second progression. The biggest thing for LSU is to continue to find ways to be able to run the ball with some modicum of success. Jaden Daniels is your best rusher. He's your best weapon when he's running the ball. I'm not expecting Jaden Daniels to go out there and throw for 350 yards and get to the third progression and hit the dig on the backside. That's not who he is. The thing for LSU to be able to move the ball and continue to score points is staying ahead of the change and getting in unpredictable downs on 2nd and 3. And you say, unpredictable downs, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 1. What do you mean? Run the ball and get the first down. No, as a defensive guy calling plays, the playbook is way more wide open for offenses when it is 2nd and 5 or less, 2nd and 1. That's why you see guys go play action, take shots, run boot, run your pick plays, things like that. LSU has got to stay in front of the chains because Jaden Daniels is not going to throw you to wins against teams that are good. He has to run you to wins, not make the big mistake. Because, look, if you look, too, you can't put all that on Jaden Daniels. LSU in the first half dropped a ton of passes. I haven't seen that many dropped receptions since the last phone company I was with, and that's why I switched. But LSU had guys that were open, not just at 7 yards, but a little bit further down the field, that were dropping passes that were hitting them in the hands. So it's not all on Jaden Daniels. Is this offense going to be elite? No. Can LSU win games against elite teams or teams that are better than them offensively by winning shootouts and things like that? No. The way LSU has to win is to play clean. Play as clean as possible. Let Jaden Daniels do his thing in the run game. Armani Goodwin, Emery, all those guys be able to run it, smash it downhill. Let Malik Neighbors and Butte and those guys eat on third down. But if they don't get Butte going a little bit more, or at least find ways to get him the ball more, I think LSU is going to end up losing some of these closer games at the end. Auburn's not a good football team, but you've got Ole Miss on the horizon. You've got games where they're going to be tight at the end, and Jaden Daniels is going to have to make 2 or 3 throws down the field, at least to just scare the defense enough to open up some holes in the run game and keep the safeties outside of the box and not letting them cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat, because teams are going to do to Jaden Daniels what Auburn did. Don't overrush him. If he's going to leave, make him leave up through the pocket. And it can be dangerous. Quarterback, again, quickest way to the end zone is a straight line, A to B, straight through the pocket as opposed to outside. Outside, you can kind of keep the play alive more, look downfield. That's what Robbie Asher did at quarterback for Auburn. But they're going to muddle rush him and keep him in front, and they're going to sack him for 1-yard losses and 1-yard losses until LSU proves that they can either run the ball consistently against good teams, or Jaden Daniels gets to the second progression and starts making people use both sides of the field defensively. That, to me, is what it's going to come down to.
All right, question is, does LSU have a chance? They always have a chance.
With those players,
with those players, yeah. All right, we'll come to you, Dakota Blackburn, hashtag Ask Crane and Company. Big FSU fan, but can't stand Jimbo. I still thought he'd be able to recreate the success at A&M that he did at FSU. Do you think the struggles have just been being in the SEC?
I don't know. It seems like it's more than that right now. Clearly, he's had success recruiting, okay? But, and again, I don't know all the ins and outs of what happened at Florida State. Well, he made it seem like they're not building the facilities. They're not investing enough in the football program. Now, after, I think, not having a winning season since 2016, Florida State has said, we don't like this too much. We like the Bobby Bowden era and the Heisman Trophy winners and the national championships. It seems like it's more to do with just being in the SEC. When you lose to Appalachian State at home, you know, it seems like there's something more going on there. But he hasn't been able to have success on the field, to me.
Yeah, well, it's too, and Florida State, they're building that new football facility. You see they're kind of, you know, obviously resource-wise, that was one of the things with Jimbo and assistants pay and stuff like that. You know, when you look at Jimbo Fisher and A&M, everybody immediately points to the offense, and that's for a couple reasons. One, Jimbo's an offensive guy. 2, that's the easiest thing to point to because you're watching the offense, and that's where you see turnovers, you see lack of production, and it can look a lot uglier on offense than it can on defense while both sides are playing bad. A&M's biggest problem isn't just offensively. Do I think Jimbo needs an offensive coordinator? Yes. He needs somebody to come in there and look like we said yesterday. They need a John Taffer from Bar Rescue to come in there and start yelling at people. Let's get better at this. Let's be more accountable. Let's figure everything out.
That or Cesar Millan.
Cesar Millan. Yeah. Hey, Jimbo's like, well, I think we need to run. He's like,
you just right when Jimbo says that, you just stand over him, so you assert your dominance.
That's exactly right. That's exactly, yeah, they need their Cesar Millan. But just to give them a fresh look. But A&M's not playing complementary football. It's not like it's just the offense playing bad and the defense and special teams are just balling. A&M cannot get 2 out of the 3 phases to play well at once. And if you do that and you're struggling on offense, if you do that and you lack explosive plays on offense, if you do that and Anaya Smith gets hurt, so now you're really not threatening the safeties deep, that's A&M's problem. They're not playing good football all around.
I feel like the defense is playing good enough to win. Right?
Well,
I'm playing good enough to win. That offense is anemic.
Good enough to win, but there's been moments during the year. Let's go back to App State. They got pushed around for 4 quarters against App State.
Okay,
absolutely pushed around.
What other game?
You talking about A&M's defense? I mean, again, they beat Arkansas, and I do want to say the KJ. You're gonna let me finish? You're just gonna talk. KJ Jefferson jumped from the 8 and fumbled the ball. Okay. Now I do got to give A&M's defense credit for that. You go back and look at Miami. Miami moved the ball in between the 20s against A&M the whole day and was running an inside zone on 3rd and goal from the 7. I think you got away from that a little bit. But with what A&M expected, this defense was supposed to be really dominant. It wasn't just supposed to be good. It wasn't supposed to be pushed around by App State. And if you're at A&M, getting pushed around and beat at home by App State is worth about 5 games. That's worth about 5 games. So don't give me the, oh, well, what happened to the other game? You lost to a Sun Belt team at home that beat Troy on a Hail Mary and just got beat by James Madison after getting a 28-3 lead.
No.
So miss me with the what happened in the other games. You got your ass beat at home by App State. That's a horrible excuse. That's a horrible excuse.
One of the
You have 17 points.
App State had the ball for 55 minutes, Blaine. They had the ball for 55 minutes and ran it down your throat when they knew you were going to run it down your throat at your place in the fourth quarter.
Just because you're yelling doesn't make you right.
Well, you're the last person to be saying that because you're basically a cheerleader.
17-14, 17-9, 23-21, 42-24. The most points you've given up all year.
42.
You gave up 24. 42 Mississippi State. But before that, you gave it the most points was 21. I mean, your offense can't establish drives.
Nobody's saying the offense is good, but acting like, oh, well, you just played bad against App State. You're playing bad.
I said the defense played good.
Well, that's my whole point.
Minded too. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's my whole point.
When your head coach is offensive minded, you would expect to be able to dial up more schemes to put up more points than that. One of the narratives that I hear sometimes from Florida State fans, this was a Florida State fan, right?
Yes.
Or even from fans around the country, is that, well, Jimbo Fisher just got lucky one year when he had Jameis Winston and they won the national championship. But I have the schedule right here. I mean, even the year before that, they're 12-2. The year after that at Florida State, they were 13-1. Then he won 10 games the next 2 years after that. So he was clearly having good seasons. And that was in the middle of when Clemson was on the rise in the ACC. So, and we say that all the time. Clemson, Dabo Swinney built Clemson like an SEC program. So I think there's more going on than just Jimbo Fisher being in the SEC, even though that certainly exacerbates your problem if you're having trouble on offense.
Yeah, well, I think it's helped them, too, in recruiting as well. And it's not like they just got in the SEC. I mean, A&M went to the SEC to have some separation from them in Texas, to be able to point at something to say, this is what separates us from Texas. We're in the best conference in the world, and they're not. And now Texas is going the same thing. That's exactly right. So now Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC. But let's get into best and worst for you.
Best and worst. Let's start with college. What do you guys got for your college best this weekend?
My best, and not to stick in the SEC too much, is Jalen Milroe coming in against Arkansas, when the game tightened, you know, and not panicking. Is the playbook as wide open with what Bryce is able to do in the pass game compared to Jalen? They're two totally different players. But if you look at the context of that game and what happened, Bryce goes out, Alabama's, you know, beating them up, but here comes Arkansas a little bit. They get it down to a 5-point game. And Blaine made a point yesterday. I think it was Blaine. It may have been you, but I think it was Blaine. Jalen Milroe had 2 huge plays on 3rd down to continue drives. That to me, we always talk about, you know, guys saying, oh, I got to stay ready. Oh, I got to stay ready. And somebody would be like, yeah, right. You know, Bryce Young, dude's probably going to win the Heisman again. You know, we see him. He rarely gets squared up to take a hit. But you never know when it's going to be your shot and your opportunity. And that crowd was still raucous. They were coming back. People were starting to feel it. You're up 5. Arkansas doesn't get the 2-point conversion. What does Jalen Milroe do? He doesn't come out and panic. They don't go into a shell on offense, even after not getting much on the first 2 downs, and he breaks a 70-yard run to kind of break the back a little bit of Arkansas, takes it in to score. They get a couple stops, and then Jahmyr Gibbs takes over. I think what Jalen Milroe did, not from a flashiness standpoint, not from like you came in there and you were just darting it around, you were making all the right reads. He did what he had to do, and he didn't panic, but he played to his strengths. And Bill O'Brien and that offensive staff played to his strengths. They didn't panic. That's one of the reasons I think when you saw Saban in that post-game interview, when they were like, you know, Bryce Young, is he okay? He's like, can we talk about what the other guys did on the road in a hostile environment and one Arkansas had to have, who had a lot of expectations, who were coming back from the depths after being down 28-0, and our backup quarterback steps in there, has 2 huge drives, operates the offense efficiently, doesn't turn the ball over, and doesn't put us in a bad position. I think you got to take your hat off to Jalen Milroe, because you kind of found out what kind of person he was coming into that game, and that he does belong on this stage, and that's why you always stay ready, and that's why you prepare like you're going to start.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right?
That's exactly right.
All right, I came in here prepared to talk about UConn with a big win over Fresno State.
Right? Fresno State, you talk about
Jim doing, man. I mean, look, it's amazing. Or maybe TCU was a candidate that I was going to talk about. Dog walking, Oklahoma remaining unbeaten. But I've got to go Georgia Tech. I have to go Georgia Tech as my best because they beat a good Pitt team 26-21 a week after your head coach gets fired. Jeff Collins, you rally around, you stay strong for your coach who was let go. This is what I thought Nebraska might do against Oklahoma when they came.
They went out and scored in the first drive and looked like world beaters.
First drive, then they got blown out by Oklahoma. Georgia Tech, I don't expect this to continue for the rest of the season necessarily. At some point, you have the guys you have. But man, if your head coach just got fired, just think about this: you're 18-22. Your head coach just got fired because the team hasn't played well enough to win football games, right? Part of that you feel responsible for. You come out and you beat Pitt It's a great win.
Yeah, and a horrible loss for Pitt, too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect that with Slovis out there. Now, if the backup was out there, from what I've seen, I expect it. But Slovis out there, not at all. I'm gonna go with the Ole Miss Rebels. All right, Lane Kiffin. I mean, you won a big game versus a top 10. I know a top 10 opponent. I know is at home, but it's the way you won it, right? You won it late, and who won it for you? The defense. And you don't really hear a lot being said about an Ole Miss defense coming in through the clutch, but they got a little bit better last year. And this year, they're even better than that. So they're slowly progressing to getting to where Lane Kiffin wants that personnel to be. It's a great win by the Rebels, especially winning late against supposedly a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah, well, in Kentucky, we talked about them being fool's gold a little bit, and that game played out basically exactly how we thought it was going to play out there at the end, the big play, the sack fumble against Levis. You know, I think Ole Miss is going to be undefeated going to play A&M. I mean, you could legitimately have either 7-0, 8-0 team at Ole Miss playing A&M. You do get Bama at home. But that was big for Lane after coming out and calling out the crowd and the atmosphere at the games, because you can't call them out, go out there, they pack it out, and you lay a goose egg. And Ole Miss did respond. The fans responded. It was beautiful setting for college football. You could tell how loud it was. You saw Kentucky struggling with it a little bit. So that was a hell of a football game. My worst, Wisconsin. I almost had my best as Illinois, my worst as Wisconsin. They played each other. You had a former coach of yours, Brett Bielema, who left there to go to Arkansas because the assistants weren't getting paid enough, whatever, come into your house with an Illinois team that's a rebuilding project. He hadn't been there very long. They beat you at your own game with your old head coach that runs that style of game. I mean, Chase Brown goes for over 100 yards, a couple touchdowns. Wisconsin's leading rusher, I think, had 16 yards. If y'all are having to rely on Graham Mertz to throw y'all to wins, no wonder y'all scored 10 points. But Illinois coming in and beating Wisconsin at their own game. And it is just, it's kind of sad to have seen Wisconsin fall off. And I think you got to start looking at Chris on the hot seat a little bit, man. I know they like him a lot there, but when Wisconsin is getting beat at their, not just barely beat. It's not like you lost 17-14 and you guys both ran for 250 yards and just got caught up in the red zone. You got run off the field by 24 at your place when you have better players in Illinois, especially up front. That's coaching, that's preparation. So the worst for me is Wisconsin. But shout out to Brett Bielema. Shout out to DeVito, the quarterback there at Illinois. The Illini got something cooking over there. They were a surprise team for me in the Big Ten. You know, they had that big win against Purdue at home where they were able to come back as well. So Illinois, man, my worst stuff for Wisconsin. Y'all better figure it out, because look, if y'all can't run the ball with success, y'all are going to make Iowa look like the Golden State Warriors. So you just better get ready for it.
Look, I'm going to go with Houston as my worst. We talked a lot about do what?
Say good, they deserve it.
Well, they were a top 25 team for the first week, beat UTSA in overtime, stayed a top 25 team after that. We talk about Clayton Tune a lot. He's a really good college quarterback, but you get blown out really by Kansas at home a couple weeks ago. Not blown out, what was it, 18, something like that?
They got blown out.
And now you lose another game at home, this time to Tulane. And we saw Tulane beat Kansas State. We know that they're a good football team. I'm not trying to take anything away from Tulane, but we've been hearing the Houston hype all offseason. It's another overtime loss at home for Houston. Just disappointing if you're a fan of that team.
Yeah, Houston, there is a problem.
Yeah, Houston and Fresno State have both been unbelievably disappointing. I mean, Fresno State's 1-3.
I don't know if Jake Hayner's back healthy. Is he out there?
Yeah, it's still though. UConn is such a bad. I don't want to say this in a negative light to make it look like what Jim Moore Jr.'s doing isn't as credible. UConn's personnel is very bad right now. Jim Mora is going to have to get some guys in there. I know he will through the transfer portal, but this is one of those wins that you can look back on when you're talking to guys in the transfer portal and when you're talking to recruits, saying, look, I know some of the games we played weren't pretty, but look what we can do. Look what we're kind of scratching the surface a little bit of what we can become. You can be the difference in us, this not being a surprise, and us being able to go out and not only be competitive, but win these games. This is a nice, and I know, like I said, Fresno's 1-3, but it's a nice mile marker a little bit for Jim Mora Jr. and them in his first year to be able to point to and say, this is progress.
UConn was one of the worst teams in college football last year.
And
Fresno
awful.
State was one of the group of 5 teams we thought, hey, if Jake Hayner were to stay healthy, they could really do something. You look at this win right here, and Jim Mora came on this show the week after he took that job, and we knew that he was going to turn that program around. I didn't think he'd be beating Fresno State this year.
Love it for Coach Moore. My worst is Ryan Day in the Ohio State Buckeyes special teams. You're up 39, I believe, late in the third quarter, and you faked a punt on 4th and 12. And what happened when you're up 39 and you do that against Rutgers? They absolutely speared your punter out of
I'd have done the same thing.
Then Ryan Day and Greg Schiano got into it. That's fine. I would have done the same thing. You go for it up 39 late in the second half. That's going to happen. You play stupid games. You win stupid prizes. So as me, Ryan Day, it's unnecessary. You're beating them. We know you're better than them. You're up almost 40 points in the second half. Punt the ball, and let's finish out the game.
Let's watch them. We have a clip of them getting into it after the game. This right here is just some old-fashioned, I'm pissed, you're pissed, let's be pissed together. Let's run the clip.
To the Ohio State sideline, and they got jawing at one another. Oh, boy.
Ooh. I mean, look, there's some... I'm not a lip reader.
Let them fight.
Yeah, but I saw a couple words in there that I think that start with an F, and I think I know what it is.
Friendship?
I will say, Blaine, it is interesting to me as a guy like you who wants steroids and fights in the seventh inning of baseball, yet you're upset that they faked a punt.
Well, it's a difference between faking a punt and agreeing to go fight somebody.
What?
Like when you both agree to go fight, awesome, guys. You've made a grown-up decision to commit violence to each other, but then be friends. But if you're going to sneak around up 40 and belittle and might as well kick me when I'm on the ground and go for a punt when it's 4th and 12, when the game's over, then yeah, here, that's your punter. This kid's a 6'3", 250-pound JUCO player who just transferred here and who's pissed off all the time. Kill him.
Yeah, that's exactly.
This is what the Buckeyes do, man. He got it from Woody Hayes.
Well, again, maybe they're trying to cover because they were on that 39.
Hey, they could have covered. If you're going to do that, at least cover.
Two things on this. One, to me, this is like the equivalent. I'm talking about the punter getting destroyed out of bounds. It's almost like you hitting one of our guys in baseball, and we're going to hit one of yours.
Yeah.
You want to embarrass us by faking a punt up 39? Well, we're going to absolutely click-clack underarm style the punter when we get a chance to square him up. Second thing is, the one part, because I try and make sense in my mind of, okay, why would you do this? I don't think there's a ton of beef between Greg Schiano and Ryan Day that was like before this game or going into this, or there is now. But is it something you wanted to put on film so down the road when other teams are watching, they know that you will fake it?
Yeah.
You've shown a fake. Now, they would think, okay, you're up 39. Are you doing this to try and trick me? It's kind of like when you take the delay of game when you're punting to try and back your punter up to give him more room and the other team declines it. Like, to me, I think this may be something to put on film. So now the special teams coordinators, when they're thinking about going after the Ohio State punt, that little birdie in the back of their mind goes, hey, they did fake it. They did fake it on 4th and 3. 4th and 4, stuff like that. Instead of going after it on midfield, do you go safe instead because you're worried that they're going to fake it? So there's a little bit of gamesmanship here, but up 39, man.
So let me ask you this, because you were a special teams coordinator. Right. How much of this has to do with you got the look that you schemed for? Like if you're a special teams coordinator, you say, if we get this look from their punt return team or their punt block team, we're going to run this fake no matter what the score is. And how much of it and how much of it is just, man, we just wanted to just beat y'all.
No, well, like I don't think it was a we want to score more points thing. Like sometimes, like with what we did, we had a read built in. So we rugby punt. So we'd read the in man when we'd rugby. And if he came inside and there was no help, we would take the outside of the shield and just lead him up and take off. And it worked unbelievably well. A lot better than I thought. Enough where the head coach was like, look, at first I was kind of skeptical, but it's worked like 4 times. We're looking really smart over here. Let's keep doing it. But I do think, and then like there's a counter argument to what I said earlier where you're like, all right, well, why would you show them one of the fakes that you have? That could have been a dummy fake. That could have been something that they may run a fake that's similar to that, but there's some sort of counter off of it. So that fake you prepared for, they know how you're going to adjust to it, talking about Ohio State. Do they have another fake worked up that assumes you're adjusting to their fake? I know I'm sounding like the coach from The Waterboy right now. He's like, everybody get around. He's like, he's going to pretend to fake. No, he's going to think about pretending to fake. But look, you can't do that.
Part of this is this is the Buckeyes mentality. This is why they're so good. Comes all the way from Woody Hayes, man. They asked Woody Hayes why he went for 2 after drumming Michigan, and he said, because I couldn't go for 3.
That's great. Hey, one more from the Boost Club real quick, Blaine. Let's get to the next segment.
$1.99 donation from Steele Smith.
Steele
says Jimbo's offense scheme expired in 2014.
Well, again, we always go. I don't want to relitigate this again. That's funny, by the way. That's pretty good. I've never heard that one. The scheme is one thing, all right? Some schemes are better than others, okay? Typically, schemes that are better than others are the ones that fit your personnel the best. But A&M has no vertical threat. A&M does not scare you down the field. That's why it looks, if you're an A&M fan, when you watch them play offense or just a football fan in general, it looks really hard, right? Every yard, it looks really hard. The timing looks thrown off. The consistency isn't there. I think sometimes we put too much into the scheme because there are a lot of schemes, as I say on the show, I feel like every day, there are multiple schemes that have won national championships. There are a lot of schemes and play callers that look really good when they have really good players. There's a lot of good play callers that look really bad when they have bad players. A&M needs better players on the outside. A-Chain is a dog. We know that. He can play. We know Anaya Smith was a really good player. They have talent. They have young talent. Evan Stewart, going to be really nice. But A&M does not have that guy that you look at and you go, I am scared of this guy to run a vertical the whole game. Or I can put two guys, one guy on each side, and threaten the defense evenly across the board. A&M can't. And people are saying, you know what, A&M? If you're going to beat us, you're going to have to throw it down the field to beat us. Because you're not going to line up and run power and run split zone and run counter and run ISO and run trucks and run stretch and do all these things and beat us. You're not going to score 30 points against us doing that. Because A&M isn't good enough up front, in my opinion, to do that. But also, they don't have the weapons outside to threaten you enough to open up things in the underneath. So make fun of the scheme. I get it. It's not sexy. It's not cool. And most importantly, it's not working. That's the thing. But it's more than just offense that's costing A&M. Coney, what do we got next?
All right, best and worst for the NFL.
Yes. All right, I'll start. Best. Cooper Rush. Hashtag rush hour. First Cowboys quarterback to win his first 4 starts. Look, was it against the best competition? No. But what do we say here all the time? You can only play the teams that are in front of you. And we're going to find out. Schedule gets a little harder for the Cowboys. But come on, guys. Cooper comes into town. You can get it for what? A fourth of what you're paying Dak? Mm-hmm. And look, I like Dak. I think Dak's a good dude. I don't think he's this quarterback that's going to lead the Cowboys to the promised land anytime soon. But 4 starts in a row for the hell, it's one thing for the Cowboys to win 4 games in a row in general. It's another thing for Cooper Rush, you know, to put on his green hawk hat and come in there and save the day as the quarterback. Now, again, he's not going in there and throwing for 800 yards, and the Cowboys' defense is the reason that they're winning. I get that. I think it's the best best defense statistically they've had since 1973. So the Cowboys' defense is playing really well, but Cooper Rush is not losing the game. He's throwing the check down when he needs to. He's not terrible on third down, and he's winning. That's what counts.
And
Jerry Jones
throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
He's throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. If I'm CeeDee Lamb, I'm like, look, Dak, man, you know, Fallout Boy, thanks for the memories, even if they weren't so great. But can we get Cooper Rush in here? Because Cooper Rush is like, down, set, CD. I'm throwing it to you. Down, set, hut.
But Fallout Boy, literally.
Yes,
Ball
that's
out,
exactly
boy.
right. And not Post Malone.
Ball out, boy. I love that. That was good, Dave.
You like that? Let's stay in the NFC East for mine.
Okay.
Let's go Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Giants. How about, hey, Daniel Jones injured yesterday. Tyrod Taylor comes in. He gets injured too, goes concussion protocol. Who's going to play quarterback? Guys, don't worry about it. Saquon's back there. Snap the ball to him directly. Actually, we cut out the middleman. Let's just do that.
Exactly
Snap the ball to him in the 4th. He goes for 146 on 34 carries. Boys, listen, the Giants are 3-1.
Most important thing about that stat line? Yeah, Giants are 3-1. The Jets are 2-2. I had a tweet yesterday saying the Knicks better figure it out. Like everybody else in New York is figuring out.
Yeah.
The Knicks better make some adjustments really quickly. But I do want to say the most important stat, I think, isn't the yardage in there. It's 34 carries. You want to know if
31.
Saquon Barkley is healthy or not? You want to know if that Brian Daboll and that staff believe he's healthy or not? They gave him the rock 34
After coming back off that injury, man, he's healthy.
McCaffrey ain't getting the ball 34 times.
No. I mean,
Well, Saquon's slowly turning what Saquon was supposed to be in the NFL.
exactly. Well, and he was that the first year. I mean, he balled
Yeah,
that
but after
first
that,
year. You know, but he
injuries.
got an injury, but to come back off an ACL like this is very impressive. Just snapping the ball.
Leading rusher in the NFL, right?
I think
Something like that.
Nick
Our
Chubb
number one
is, but
fantasy running back in the
He's the
NFL.
most points in fantasy. I
Most
think
overall
Nick Chubb has the
is
most.
still the leading
I think
rusher.
Chubb has the
rushing
most
yards,
overall
but
yards.
Saquon might have the most yards in general.
That may be true. That may be true. But if you're a Giants fan, they have the Packers next, right? But if you're a Giants or a Packers fan, you want to go to that game.
Yeah.
You got to go all the way to London. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, enjoy that.
Hate those games.
You
All right,
sound
my
like
best
you're
is
from
Seattle
London.
Seahawks. They score 48 points.
Yeah.
Geno
wow.
throws
That
for over 300 bills, 300 yards. I mean, you have a 150-plus yard rusher. DJ Metcalf has like 150 yards. Of course, I'm playing against DK Metcalf has 150 yards. Of course, I'm playing against him this week. He hadn't had over 5 catches the entire year. So it's great for them. I mean, you're really looking up. You beat a Lions team who's good. I know they're down the Sun God and DeAndre Swift. Shout out my fantasy team. But if you're Seattle, I mean, you lose Russell. I mean, things aren't looking great over there in Denver. Geno, every other week, is blacking out for 4 quarters and throw for 300 yards one game. So, I mean, Seahawks could be worse.
Yeah, and it's funny, they talked about Pete Carroll wanting to get back to, like, when they were winning with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks going to Super Bowls, defense and running game, and you're like, we're going to get back to that. Oh, no, Geno Smith's going to throw for over 300 yards. That game was just absolutely
They combined for 93 points.
Yeah, and you would think that the Lions, the best players on offense, Hawkinson actually played and balled, but the Lions' best players offensively were on the bench. The Seahawks, we know, haven't, been the Globetrotters exactly on offense. And that game, every time you looked up, somebody was scoring a touchdown. It just goes to show you the NFL, that's why I bet in the NFL. I'm very leery about it. Went 4-2 yesterday, hit both the dog bets. Feeling really good about it, especially the Chiefs when I took them at -1.5 at like +105. I felt like that was stealing with the Buccaneers. I know the Buccaneers returned some players, but they're still beat up front. My worst, Baker Mayfield. But he makes fun of Kirk Cousins. Can't win on Monday. Well, Baker Mayfield's an absolute 5-alarm flaming disaster fire right now. All right, 11 passes batted down. Leads the NFL. Baker's not the tallest, but he's also not the shortest. On that 4th down play, I think one guy from the Cardinals had like 3 bat downs. I think he had as many blocks as Giannis Antetokounmpo did a game in the playoffs. You got to find a way to get the ball out. That's on you. I know linemen need to get their hands down, but sometimes it's coming on the hot where you don't have enough people to block it. You got to get the ball out and find a way to get it to the receiver. Second thing, you have three or more turnovers in the game yesterday. That's the 10th time you've done it. Leads the NFL. So you lead the NFL in passes batted down. You lead the NFL in 3 or more turnovers in a game. That's not what you want to lead the NFL in, and you're 1-3 right now with the Panthers, and they are booing you like a room full of ghosts.
Bad situation there. I'm going to go with the Commanders right now. 25-10 loss against the Cowboys. Before the season started, I wasn't expecting that much from the Commanders, so that probably wouldn't have been on one of my worst lists. But you figure out a way to beat a good Jaguars team, and since then, they've lost 3 straight. They have the weapons. Jahan Dotson has really come into the league and shown how great he can be. You're utilizing Curtis Samuel in a good way. I think Carson Wentz has at least stayed healthy and shown you what he can do when he stays healthy. So they have the pieces there, but it's just not working out right now. Let's see what happens throughout the rest of the schedule.
Give me the Ravens in the second half.
What's wrong?
I don't know. I mean, let's go back to the Dolphins game. You give up 28 in the 4th quarter, and you absolutely had.
That's hard to do.
Let's go to the Buffalo Bills game. You don't score a point in the second half with Lamar Jackson in that offense. So right now, this is somewhat of a veteran team. I mean, Coach Harbaugh does a great job. You never really hit him on a second half adjustments, but right now, this Ravens team, that first half is looking how they're supposed to look, but that second half, they're coming in way, way short of what you need to be, especially you're going through the year and late in the playoffs. So Ravens are slowly turning into a team I can't trust late in games, and I wouldn't thought I'd say that about a Coach Harbaugh coach team who runs the ball and plays defense, but they're making the mistakes late in games you usually don't see from a Ravens coach team.
And the game yesterday, Lamar, for the first time of this year, missed a couple throws that I know he wanted back. He's been throwing at a level that I haven't seen him throw it. The running game with Lamar is going to be good, but he had Mark Andrews one time wide open for a touchdown that he overthrew. There were 2 or 3 other passes where he didn't get it out on time, and the ones that he did get out on time were not on the mark, where guys were, open in the NFL, which is a little bit different than open in college. But, I mean, yesterday, I got one of my bets was I had the Ravens +3.5. And, I got the hook. It was +3, so I got the hook at 3.5 on the alternate line on DraftKings. Use that code Booster, and you'll get some free money. You're welcome. But I'm sitting there, it's 20-3. And I'm like, all right, I know the Bills aren't going to quit. I know Josh Allen. I know how talented this team is. So I think the game may get close, but I think the Ravens will be able to score enough points where I can feel comfortable about them, getting the 3.5 and being able to cover that. Maybe the Bills come back and go crazy in the second half and they kick a field goal to win. I'm sitting there going into the 4th quarter like, you got to be kidding me. Ravens can't move the ball on offense. The Bills are moving it at will, doing whatever they want. Josh Allen's converting on 3rd down, left and right. The pass game, the run game's getting mixed well. He looks comfortable in the pocket. And it's at the end, and I'm having to sweat this thing out.
Yeah.
And now the Bills did end up driving the ball down and kicking that field goal to win. But it was touch and go there going into the 4th quarter. I mean, not even halfway through the 4th quarter did I start to worry. It was going into the 4th quarter because I looked and I was like, all right, I can go ahead and feel pretty good about the Ravens covering, which is the worst thing ever of all time, because that's the moment when the other team starts to come back. So I'm with you, Blaine. I mean, they got to be able to figure it out.
You know who that defensive coordinator is for the Ravens? That's Mike McDonald.
Yep.
Who was Michigan's defensive coordinator last season, where Jim Harbaugh got from the Ravens the year before. He was the linebackers coach for his brother. All those coaches, I think, either with Jim or John.
Look, they all,
circle,
Jim,
man.
John, Jack, Jill, Jeffrey, and Joseph. I mean, they all know each
circle,
other.
man. All right, let's go to Ty Reed's little $2 donation.
Hey, Reed.
Hi, thanks, buddy.
Wow.
He says, y'all's optimistic view of the Dogs give me hope. Man, I don't know why you wouldn't have hope.
Well, again, so here's what I said yesterday, and I hate to relitigate it, but it's Georgia to me, and everybody's like, oh, well, they struggled a couple games. It's very hard to get through a season, to get your guys up, even in a place like Georgia, even with a motivator like Kirby, to be able to get up and play at the highest level or at the level they were playing at the first 3 games for the whole season. It's damn near impossible. Okay, that's the trick. That's the whole trick, trying to get your guys to get up, to play as clean, accountable, disciplined, organized, and hard as possible every single game, regardless of the opponent. They know who Kent State was. They know who Missouri was. Now, is that an excuse? No. Is there an excuse for giving up 6 plays of over 20 yards against Missouri, including a couple on the ground? No. But you won the game and you got through it. It's like that couple that's been married for 60 years, and we talked about it on the recap. And you're like, oh, you tell them there at the end, it's like, oh, they're so cute together. Y'all been through world wars together and the Great Depression and a bunch of stuff. And has it always been good? Then they'll tell you, there's been rough patches. There's a year in there. Like yesterday, where Don went off with some girl from the pickle factory for 6 months.
The pickle factory.
Yeah,
We're big on the pickle
I'm just
factory.
saying. No, I'm just saying. Like that's the thing. And we had to patch it, or maybe we weren't getting along for 6 months. Something happened. Rhonda got laid off cutting hair, so she was just around the house having to take care of the kids, getting pissed, and then we were both mad at each other. Like you go through rough patches to a season because it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. Georgia's very, very talented. They're not going to play bad a lot. So that they played bad 2 weeks in a row, everybody's freaking out.
You just painted me a whole picture of a nice couple there, Rhonda and Tom.
Rhonda and Tom.
One works at the pickle factory.
Yeah.
Got his pension.
Yeah.
Rhonda was cutting hair.
He was the one who did that, made sure the jars were on tight in the assembly line.
Yeah. That's an important job.
It is, but you can ask him. It's just that's how it is. The season's like a long relationship. You got some good, you got some great.
Yeah.
Remember the time we drove the Grand Canyon with the kids and took all the pictures and sat at the diner and ate hamburgers, and then you had the bad times. You remember when little Anthony ran away because he forgot to do his project and he got a spanking from Mom, and then Mom said, wait till your dad gets home. And we had to go find him. Almost had to call John Walsh.
You should write a book. You should write a book about
I'm just telling you, that's the best analogy I can
Rhonda
give.
the Pickle Factory.
Rhonda and the Pickle Factory. Let me ask you guys this as Auburn fans. Now you've seen back-to-back weeks here. Georgia against Kent State, Georgia against Missouri. Don't look at me like that, Blade.
No, David.
Is there any confidence? Is there any
no
confidence this weekend that Auburn could pull the upset, pull the unthinkable, Jake, go in between the hedges, get the victory,
we have a better
save Brian
There's a
Harson's
better
job.
chance of Joe Biden getting out of one of those rooms where it's nothing but mirrors. There's a better chance of him somehow making it out of that room, than Auburn beating Georgia on the road.
He's got no shot.
There's no shot he makes it out of that. He'd just be going up trying to shake his own hand.
Even he has a better shot than Auburn going to Georgia. What are you going to do? Not going to run it. You're for sure not going to throw it. And the things Brock Bowers is going to do to Auburn. Oh,
I don't know,
that was a good one, Blaine.
I don't know.
That was a good one.
I would be optimistic.
That was a good one. Let's go one more time to the Booster Club before we.
Let's go to a couple. We have two donations here. Peyton Mitchell with a $1.99 donation. It says message retracted. So thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, look, maybe we answered. Maybe it's about Georgia.
So Wisconsin coach did get fired.
Yeah, but they're okay.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Wisconsin coach?
We're talking about Brett Bielema?
No, Chris.
Oh, Chris. Yeah. No, it's what I'm saying. It's like there was heat going on, Chris. I thought you were talking about Bielema. I was like, no. Bielema had that dispute about the assistants, and then he bolted for the SEC because he wanted to be able to pay the assistants more. No, it had been building up for Chris, and that's what I'm saying. When you get beat at your and they've been playing bad for a while. Okay, like you go back to last year, Wisconsin, they've been trending down, and they haven't made any adjustments. So, when you look at the situation at Wisconsin, and I know we talk about coaches that are fired and teams that play, but you typically go one or two ways, right? You go the Nebraska way, all right, where you show a little hope and then get absolutely destroyed. Then you can go the Georgia Tech way, where you kind of put it together and win one for the old Gipper, even though the Gipper's not there anymore. One more, B.
Okay, well, we have 2 more donations.
Oh, look, we can do this all day.
Let's go to Leo Maltos. What's up, Leo? $4.99 donation says, Wisconsin fired their head coach after an embarrassing game against Illinois. How can Jim Leonard build a winning culture at Wisconsin?
I love where your head's at on this. We've talked about Jim Leonard, my 3 favorite young DCs in college football, Zach Arnett from Mississippi State, Jim Leonard at Wisconsin, and Ryan Walters from Illinois. Wisconsin and Illinois had played each other. I think Jim Leonard is a type of guy that defensively, he knows what he talks about. He played at Wisconsin. He's a Wisconsin lifer. He gets it there. Not that Chris didn't understand what's going on or anything like that. But I think Jim Leonard is smart enough to know, hey, we have to evolve a little bit offensively. Wisconsin will always be about running the ball, right? It's kind of like Arkansas will always be about running the ball. It'll be tough and physical, but you have to evolve in the passing game somewhat to be able to survive. So Jim Leonard there, to me, if I'm Wisconsin, you're going to see how it goes, feel things out and everything like that, but I think he could be next up. I think this could be one of the reasons why that move was made to let Chris go.
Well, he's the interim right now, so do you think that's a no-brainer that he becomes the permanent
You want
coach?
to kind of see his chops a little bit. You're giving him opportunity. It can't get much worse. I mean, you can't play much worse than what Wisconsin did against Illinois, like we said. But I do think Jim Leonard, if you were going to stay in-house and you were going to stay in the family, Jim Leonard is the guy, and if you don't do it, somebody is going to do it soon. Yeah. Because it's about time for him. It's about time for a guy like Kendall Briles going into next year. Some of these young guys, and I know Ryan Walters just got paid from Illinois, like paid, and Brett's going to do everything he can to keep him there. Zach Arnett, with the way Mississippi State's trending this year, I think this could be his last year at Mississippi State. I could see Zach taking over a Sun Belt team or something like that if Jamie Chadwell were to leave a Coastal Carolina, kind of something like that as well. So, no, Wisconsin did let their coach go. That was one of the things I believe we had in rapid fire.
All right, Peyton Mitchell with a $4.99 donation. Thank you, Peyton. Says, hey, Jake, are you surprised Wisconsin and Colorado fired their head coach this weekend, but Harsin is still at Auburn?
Different situation. No, I'm not surprised either one of Wisconsin or Colorado did. I mean, Colorado, you have letters being written by the AD like, hey, let me tell you a story about why I'm sorry, about why we're so bad and how I'm going to fix it with magic and other things. They have athletic directors, unless I'm just totally mistaken on one of those, but I don't believe I am. Auburn doesn't have an athletic director yet. That doesn't mean they won't fire Harsin during the season. You might as well do it. I've said it a million times. You might as well do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. What are you going to hurt? Was recruiting gonna get worse? How's that gonna happen? Hell, you couldn't recruit Aubie to play at Auburn right now. But when I look at the situation Auburn finds himself in, they're gonna have to get an AD most likely to be able to get a coach to come in, because most coach worth their salt, or they would actually have an opportunity to be able to turn Auburn around, aren't going to Auburn unless they have an AD. Now, the one guy who I think Auburn should hire, Hugh Freeze, I think he'd take it without an AD. I think he's just in that position, but the odds of that happening are pretty low in my opinion. So I'll tell you what the odds aren't low of happening. You guys staying here and making sure you like and subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you want to watch the rest of this, you can listen to it here if you want. But if you want to watch, head over to the Daily Wire Plus, become a member, or listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review, share it with your friends. Hop into the Booster Club. We're coming right back. We got some rapid fire, fantasy update, mailbag, and Cone's going to fight a bear live on the set. We'll be right back.
Do we?
News to me.
We love to cover all sports because we're sportsmen and outdoorsmen and men. So, Cone, let's get into rapid fire.
Let's do it. I think it was on this show that you were talking about the New York Mets for the last few months.
Sing to
It was
me.
something about collapse or
Come on,
I don't really know. But
Come
tell me
on,
about what
David.
happened this past week.
Oh, I want to do it in song. My life is really a musical. Feels good. Braves, Mets, at home. They're in Atlanta. Braves sweep them. 2-game lead in the NLS.
Not over yet,
East.
though.
Not over yet. Magic number is One. Braves
That's
need one
Marlins.
win. It's the Mets. So now guess what? You had a great year. At the end, you have DeGrom, biggest series of the season. Got to play the Braves. You can clinch it. Just clinch it, pinch it. Let's get up out you. You got DeGrom, Cat Eyes Scherzer, Bassett, Tisket, a Tasket, Chris Kirkpatrick. Get your ass kicked. And you go into Atlanta trying to make a statement. But the Mets will always be the Mets. The Giants will always be the Giants, and the Jets will always be the Jets. Don't ever forget that, Cone. And you fell apart. Dansby Swanson hitting more tanks than Gadarian or somebody that's dive bombing back in World War II on the open plains, the fields, and all the other places. Then you got Austin Riley taking cat eyes to the shed. Not homers, but just clean. Coming through late, Michael Harris making plays in center. It's a great situation for the Braves right now. Kyle Wright, never wrong, did what you had to do. Love to be a Braves fan right now at the end of the season. Love seeing the Mets fall apart, and can't wait to watch the Braves finally clinch the NL East and watch the Mets losing the wild card. Because while there's a lot of people that are Sam Wises, the Mets will always be a Boromir.
3 more against the Marlins. They have 3 against the Nats.
Got me a mom. Sandy Alcantara shut down, guys. They shut him down.
I always enjoy getting on here and making fun of the Mets. Like, you'll never catch me on that. Should we all laugh? Should we all laugh at the Mets collectively?
They're your second favorite team.
They're not, David. They're probably yours.
Huh?
They're probably yours.
First off,
I'm a big Oakland A's guy.
How dare you?
You're a big A's guy.
Second off,
is that because of Moneyball?
Love the unis.
Oh yeah.
So just an update around baseball. The Yankees obviously had clinched the AL East.
Yep.
The Blue Jays and the Rays are both in the wild card, right? We thought maybe 4 could go out of that division. Just mess around, but 3.
Yeah, 3.
Because again, it didn't the AFC West, but look at the AFC West right now. You had the Guardians were the only team out of the AL Central to make the playoffs. Then you had out of the West, the Astros absolutely ran away, like they stole their first pack of cigarettes there in the AL West. But the Mariners.
The Mariners.
Very glad for the Mariners.
White
It's been a
Sox
while.
left out.
Yep, White Sox are left out. Sorry, Shapiro. Then you got the Braves, like we said, with the Mets 2 games back. Both those teams are in the playoffs. Still seeing Philly a little bit with the wild card. The Cardinals won the division. Milwaukee and Philly are in this absolute fist fight because the Padres have clinched a playoff spot, even with all the crazy stuff with Tatis and Soto coming over and it not going great. So, look, we're going to be covering the Major League Baseball playoffs. I can't wait. I'm just so glad. I don't want to jinx it yet. I'm so glad there's a great chance that the Braves will not have to be playing in the wild card, and we can sit back and watch and learn and wait and stalk and want and need and hope.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot of words.
That's a lot.
Congrats.
That's a lot to do.
Thank you.
125 people are dead after an Indonesian soccer match.
Okay, here's
Hooliganism, I guess.
I mean, you know,
That's what it's called. Yeah.
What? We love sports here,
You hear
right?
about this?
We love sports. There's things that I don't understand, right? Meek Mill said what? There's levels to this. We love sports here. There is not a more passionate group of fans, at least I thought, than SEC football or college football fans or some of the diehard fans that we have over here. I'm just trying to think, at what point during a game do you get so rowdy that 125 people get trampled to death at a game? What are y'all doing? What? I've watched fans storm the court. I've watched fans storm the field. Hell, the kick 6 looked like the episode of World War Z when everybody's trying to get in Jerusalem. There were so many people in one spot. But you guys are trampling 125 people? That is absolutely wild, Dave. Stop.
Chaos broke out after a match in East Java's province. This was a first home loss by one of these teams. I can't pronounce all the teams in here, but first home loss. And the angry fans demanded answers after. And
Can you imagine if that was like this in college football? Nobody would be alive in College Station.
They threw bottles and objects at the players and soccer officials. Violence spread. Hundreds of spectators rushed to an exit to avoid tear gas, which resulted in a crush that trampled or suffocated about 125 people.
Just uneducated.
That is so beyond the pale. Can you imagine if it went down like that in the United States? Like I said, the College Station would be burning to the ground. Like Nebraska and Lincoln, it wouldn't even be there anymore. Like it would look like an episode of The Walking Dead. Like it's sad. It's very sad, and it's a huge loss of human life, and it's a tragedy. But do you think maybe this is why the aliens won't talk to us? Like, this is like one of the reasons?
Yeah, that's
why they're like, they're not ready
It's
yet.
probably
be
up
like,
there.
be like, Glorp, are they ready? And he's like, Indonesia.
125 people.
Yeah,
over 125 people over a soccer game that probably doesn't matter.
No, the East Java province?
That
There were two
doesn't
teams
matter.
I can't.
The only Java I know is the one on the computer
See,
that always
this is
pops
why
up.
y'all
I have
need to
to
play
exit out of.
football, right? Like actual football.
They
You
say
get
they're
to
playing
see
football.
See the violence,
Yeah.
right? And so after
Get
the
it
game,
out of you.
After the game, you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, a couple calls went bad. I guess we'll get them next year. But like,
We're gonna, you know what the worst thing that happens in the SEC if you play bad? They fire the coach.
yeah.
You don't have,
And
you
you
don't
get
have,
to-
hey,
you
coming
get
out of
to-
Jordan Hare after Auburn loses to LSU, 130 people trampled to death
Yeah.
after they wanted to storm Brian Harsons. Now the boosters were another situation. They're about to go to their houses with torches and
Did y'all
pitchforks.
see that movie Green Street Hooligans with Charlie Hunnam?
I haven't, but I know what
Man,
you're
check
talking
that out.
I haven't
Okay.
seen that.
It's this, but in like the English.
Have you
Premier
seen
League.
Celtic Pride?
No.
You still haven't
I
watched
haven't
that?
Celtic Pride. It's football season right now.
It's
I'm
true.
not watching anything but.
I just thought you'd watch it during the Celtics in the finals playing the Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
have to watch
Celtic
that.
Pride.
Anyway,
Yeah.
next up, you were saying that a guy put lead weights in the fish.
Yeah.
to
Y'all seen
win the
this?
fishing tournament.
Yeah.
So I get sent this video, and it's at a legit fishing tournament. Some guy who has won tournaments before, like won money, was putting lead weights inside of the fish he caught to make them weigh more. Therefore, he would win, and he got caught.
Mm.
And he got caught. Like how long you played for the Astros, man? Like, this is the most Houston Astros thing I've ever seen in my life. But like, you're cheating in fishing? We're cheating in fishing.
Money.
I know, but like, you didn't think you'd ever get caught doing this? I know you won a couple times, but come on, man. Like you think people are just gonna be like, man, that fish looks like it's 6 pounds, but it weighs 9 pounds? Like, what is it, pregnant? Like, with like quintuplets? And I'm not a fish doctor.
100 grand goes to the winner of most of these tournaments.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that gets, you need to go to jail.
Yes.
You, like, jail, right to jail with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're putting lead weights in there. But you got to cheat in fishing. I feel like that, it's one thing to cheat to pay recruits, right, back in the day. Okay, everybody's kind of doing it. It's one thing to, all right, well, the Astros, they kind of know what pitch is coming. They kind of know what pitch is coming. It's another thing when you're cheating in fishing, man. Like, you know, you got some guy now accused in chess of cheating by putting certain things in certain places and using a buzzer. I'm not getting into that. Chess is taking a weird turn. Yeah. Moving on. But no, you're cheating in fishing, man. That, like, you're the worst. Like, I don't like you.
It's a fishy situation.
It's a super fishy situation, and it stinks.
Yeah.
And it stinks. Vikings Saints yesterday in London. Did you see the missed field goal?
Yeah, that hit the.
Yeah, do we have that clip? Do we
Yeah,
have
let's
the clip of
let's pull up the
Saints
clip
missed
see it. I
field goal here.
refuse to watch
of
games.
Will Lutz hitting everything but where he's supposed to in the field goal. Let's go and play it. So it's a 61-yarder in London to tie the game and go into overtime. Free biscuits and tea.
It looks good.
Looks good. Oh, that's the worst. It hits the sidebar, then the crossbar. It's like getting blocked twice from Dikembe Mutombo with the game on the line. Tough for the Saints. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, tried to bring him back. They threw up 25, which is more than I thought they would. But it's just not a good situation in New Orleans right now.
Let's see, you just not living your life right off the field, it looks
We'll
like.
say when I was in South Alabama, we iced Will Lutz. I told the head coach before halftime when he was Georgia State. That's where he kicked. We were playing him in the Dome. And I was like, hey, let's ice Will Lutz. And he ended up missing like a 45-yarder, but he's pretty good at kicking. Had a great career.
Really?
So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty
You were
neat.
responsible for that.
That's pretty neat. Well,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, I'll have some more tomorrow on
You
Rapid
will?
Fire when we pull these clips. Oh, we do have the Liberty top play though.
Yeah, let's
Top
run
play.
this. This guy from Liberty absolutely
Oh,
snagged the
y'all got a
picture
clip
on
of
this
me?
one.
All right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and run this play. You're going to see this. I just want to let it play. Old Dominion Liberty, a lot higher scoring game than I thought we were going to get. First drive for Liberty. This is how you set the tone on the road as a wide receiver. Let's run the clip. And I'm going to narrate.
Salter will start at quarterback.
Got a little play action. He's
Fakes it
rolling
to
right.
Day-Day Hunter and
Going to take a
runs,
shot in the
looking
end zone
toward
on
the
first and
end
10.
zone.
It's a
Pass
one-handed
down,
snag.
down one-handed.
He grabbed it like the ball was little. You know, like you catch like balls that are smaller, like Nerf balls, like in your hand and grab it. He literally grabbed the tip of the ball, put it down in an awkward angle. This is how you start. This is one of those moments, if you're a sports bettor, that when this catch is made, so when he rolls right here, if you're betting and you hadn't bet on the Liberty game, oh, he throws it, oh, he catches like this, I'm instantly live betting Liberty, whatever it is to win. Because that sets the tone. Old Dominion's had a really good year. They're a program on the rise as well, but that was a hell of a play. Speaking of hell of a play, Blaine, back to
Fire unis
the
too, Old
club.
Dominion. I really do enjoy the powder blues with the cleats and the helmet, at least. In Hutton Sam earlier says, "Hey, everybody, it's just awesome. I get to sit in my house and laugh at the Braves, laugh at the Mets falling apart."
It's delicious. Even though for our Mets fans out there, you're still going to make the playoffs and have a chance, so don't freak out.
Let's go to Colleen Houston. Notre Dame players went to the most classes, but I heard them complain about having to go to the class, which is hilarious. I got Freeman's getting to actually go to class over there.
Yeah, well, it's like, do you remember what Luganville said about Georgia Tech? To go to Georgia Tech, you have to take 5 calculus classes.
5 calculus classes.
Well, I'm not taking 5 calculus classes. Therefore, I'm not going to Georgia Tech.
Let's go to Texas Ed. Says, when an SEC coach gets fired, he just winds up coaching at another SEC school. The Alabama Rehabilitation Clinic.
Yeah, well, it's like in the NFL. It's just coaches get recycled. Like you think it's bad in the SEC, go look at the NFL. You get fired, and like the next day, you're like, you got another job.
And Andy Reid's doing that in the NFL because I saw Matt Nagy on the sidelines last night over there helping dial up.
Just
plays
got
with
everybody. It's
Patrick Mahomes.
like, did you see where it got found out that Auburn has had an offensive consultant because it's been so bad, and it's the Zach Hill guy from Arizona State. Like they were struggling so much that they tried to get him to consult. I don't even want to get into it, but like that's something that doesn't happen a lot. It happens rarely, but that cannot get out. Like that cannot get leaked, and you can't let people know.
Wait, so
that.
what happened again?
So Auburn went. They were going to hire Zach Hill, former Arizona State OC, but there were some problems. You remember Arizona State got in trouble, and he was kind of part of the trouble or whatever. So when the Auburn OC job was open, he didn't hire him. He couldn't because of what was going on. So they ended up hiring Keesau, his boy from Boise State, but they've used him as a consultant outside because secretly they don't know what they're doing. So like it's just a bad look when you're paid to be the coach and you've been an OC like Carson has, and you hire one of your guys to be the OC like Keesau, and you've got to go outside and say, please help us. But I can go ahead and tell you, I would do it for half and probably for free, and I can tell you, you're not good enough on the offensive line, and you can't throw it. There you go. There's your consulting. There's not a lot of answers for that, for what to do for that, but the answers you have are not working. And it's funny to me, the way Auburn started, you know when a consultant can't consult you by rule in the SEC? During the game. So do you think maybe that Zach Hill is giving them the script, giving them, hey, you need to do this, and do this early, and he's not there at the game to be able to tell them what's going on during the game and how to adjust? That's why they can't score points in the second half against other teams? Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. But hey, as I walk over to the board of, hey, let's have another good start. Blaine, I still need your bet. And let's all be friends here. Little fantasy update going on. We still got Monday night tonight. Blaine, gonna start with you. You're playing Mr. Shapiro.
Wait, what happened
there.
with
Me?
Yeah, can you please tell everybody how it's going?
I'm getting slaughtered. I'm getting slaughtered. I lost, and it was bad. But that's okay. We're gonna go back to the locker room, really sit down.
You still have Cooper Cup.
I'm gonna break some stuff in front of some players that deserve to be broken. We're gonna have what we like to call my family a come to Jesus meeting.
What's the score, Coney? Read the score.
You don't have to.
Ben is up 157.32 to 78.36.
Hey, you know, you did this to yourself.
I did not.
Yeah, you did this to yourself.
I did not.
You want to know why?
We're banged up right now.
Because last week you said when Bickley scored 98 points, it's really hard to score under 100 points in fantasy.
Well, I'm hurt. I have 3 players hurt.
You did it to yourself.
Both running backs hurt. Starting receiver hurt. Like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't know I'm playing with a bunch of guys who make peanut brittle for a living. All right? It's a hamstring. You didn't even pull it. You tweaked it. You're out 4 weeks. Grow up or retire.
You said they make peanut brittle, or they're made of peanut brittle? That's hilarious.
Both. It's ridiculous. Jalen Hurts, it's okay. You deserve to have a bad game. But James Robinson, you scored 2 points after all what you've been. I have to play Khalil Herbert. Who? Who is that?
He didn't have a horrible game.
Hey.
No one knows.
David Montgomery out. He's toting the rock.
No one knows. Alvin Kamara, why are we paying you all this money?
So it's looking like a 2-2. So it's looking like 2-2.
Oh, it's 2-2. It's 2-2, and I might just throw it from here.
And it's looking like Shapiro's going to be 3-1. And Cone, you go ahead and tell yours, and I'm going to tell mine.
There's a shot.
Show me yours
boys.
first.
There's a shot.
This is a great. Yeah.
After I started Tua, and he got 2.40 points. Prayers up. Prayers up to it. We all hope
Prayers
to
up.
get better. But yeah, 2.40 points. And Jamar Chase was in that game as well, had 12.10. And then meanwhile, Bickley, I'm playing Morning Wire. Bickley, Justin Jefferson was the first to play for him, just goes bonkers, you know. I'm like, man, there's not much of a shot. Everyone would have to go off, and they kind of did. Austin Eckler finally showed up. That's why we spent a #1 pick on you. Nick Chubb, automatic. CD Lamb, 21 points, had a touchdown. Kyle Pitts, you're still a disappointment. Clyde Edwards.
Hey, what did I tell you yesterday?
Clyde Edwards.
What did I tell you yesterday?
Right there, man.
I said if you go back to the Sunday recap, you were talking. I think you asked Cone, should you play Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I said I bet you he has 1 receiving touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. And what happened?
Well, hey,
had
Dobbins had 2 touchdowns too.
Yeah, early. Early.
So yeah, Dobbins. But I was also considering Curtis Samuel though.
How do you play?
He had like 8 points, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you end up.
But I was going to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire because Bickley had Mahomes.
Yeah,
I wanted to handcuff that a little bit. But he still has a defense, boys. He has the Rams defense. I'm up 13, 133 to 120. He has the Rams defense. This is to go 2-2. This is to get some momentum started here. I need the 49ers to show up tonight and put some serious pointage on the board against Los Angeles.
All right, guys, I'm a little nervous about getting too excited too early. I'm up over Clavin right now, 128 to 105. I still have Deebo Samuel left, and he still has Tyler Higbee. So I feel good about it. We don't say things like that, Ryan.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah, no. We don't say things like that on our team. I do want to give a shout out to Derrick Henry for really doing his thing after struggling the first week. 23, almost 24 points. Travis Kelce continues to show why you take the tight end early. Cut a lot of hell for that. He dropped a 24-piece with honey biscuits and French fries on the side. Cortland Sutton continues to overperform. 16 points. Jalen Waddle, not a great week at 6. That's fine. Hey, you got to make sure you got to move the team forward. Tua is banged up. You and Teddy, let's get in there. Everybody's going to be doubling Tyreek. Let's have a good one. Deebo Samuel tonight, and I'm going to get to my bet. Think he may have a big night tonight. But Clavin, I mean, if you look, didn't have a bad week. He's projected 115. I'm projected 143. We can keep scoring 143 points. I'm going to feel pretty good about it. I do want to give a shout out to Christian McCaffrey for having a good game, though. Ended up with 2 touchdowns, or excuse me, 1 touchdown, and he had almost 26 points, which in PPR with Christian McCaffrey, that's a pretty good deal with him and Saquon. So look, trying to get to 3-1, atop the leaderboard. If I'm 3-1, Shapiro's 3-1. I beat Shapiro, be atop the leader, but it doesn't matter. It's still early. We're still getting better. We're still trying to figure each other out. Our families are hanging out. Have a big barbecue planned. Excited to get Kyler, Derek, Aaron, Deebo, Jalen, Travis, Cortland, Evan, and the Packers defense there for a nice barbecue. We're gonna have a good time. Even though the Packers defense really didn't play that good against Brian Chips Ahoyer and others. So look, it's going down to it. Some other updates. Team Nostradamus is on pace to absolutely murder Matt Walsh.
It's amazing. Knowles was in the chat today.
Oh, Knowles in the chat?
Knowles only shows up in the chat when he wins.
Wait, Knowles is in the chat today?
Yeah. He only shows up in the chat when
he
he wins. I was just saying something good about his fantasy team.
Yeah, well, look, you gotta give him credit. I mean, if
I don't give you credit.
Wait a minute.
I don't give you credit when you only show up for the wins. I need you in here on losses.
What's more disrespectful? Knowles saying he's Sweet Daddy Knowles, or Ohio State faking a punt up 39?
Walsh, what's the clap? You got to clap back?
There's got to be a clap back. Look, I don't think Matt will take that. I don't think Matt will take that.
There's no way you take that. Standing up in this economy?
In this economy? Hell no.
No way.
All right, let's get the bets real quick, and then we'll get the Booster Cup. Blaine, you go ahead and go first so you can tell me your actual
Okay,
bet.
good. You don't have to write this one down because it's not going to work. Give me, first I'm going to go ahead and take the over at 40 and a half.
For the NFL game?
It's an alternate line, yeah. So right now the over's 42 and a half. I'm going to take that. That's at minus 150. I'll go double check that. And then give me a little parlay right here. I'm going to go take the Rams to win. The Rams to have the most rushing yards and the Rams to have the most receiving yards at plus 480. So Jimmy G, play crappy.
Already doing some unit plays early in the month.
Plus 480. Wow. So
as well.
All right. So good 8-4 weekend. Really, if Arkansas could have covered plus 21 at home like adults,
NFL's.
I'd be 9-3. It was 4-2 both days. We will take 4-2 every Saturday and every Sunday. That's double your money. Make sure you go to DraftKings. Use the promo code Booster. So 8-4. Look, a lot of people right now look and say, "Hey, Trent Williams has gone for the Niners. They're going to struggle to move the ball. They looked bad last week." Jimmy G owns the Rams and Matt Stafford. If you look at the number, Jimmy G's got like a 72% completion rate, average over 10 yards a pass. I believe it was 3-0 against them last year, and they played bad last week. I know the tackle's out, but the same backup that came in, when he came in last year, they were 2-0. One of those games against the Rams, rushed the ball pretty daggum good. The Niners defense is legit. They got like the #1 pass defense close to in the NFL.
Oh, they're good.
They're very talented. And the Rams they're about middle of the road offensively this year so far in the NFL. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is a witch. I know Aaron Donald's on the other side and you're missing a tackle. But I like the Niners -1 at home tonight. Give me the Niners -1 at -119, and then give me an anytime touchdown for Deebo Samuel. There was 2 stretches last year where Deebo Samuel did not score a touchdown. There were two game stretches, and on the 3rd game, he scored a touchdown, sometimes multiple. He has not scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. Also, they're beat up at running back. Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be the guy, but do not be shocked if they have to give him a blow at the goal line by putting Deebo Samuel in the backfield. They know they need to get Deebo the ball. They know they need to get Deebo in the end zone to give him some confidence. So give me a Deebo Samuel anytime touchdown at +130 tonight.
Well, I hope Deebo Samuel scores a lot of touchdowns tonight.
It's a double one for me, Cone. I got him in fantasy, too, so I can be double happy.
There you go. But just in case he does it, I've got the Rams money line +105.
They're going against me
They're
tonight.
still
Okay,
balanced
I'm
on
fine
both
with it.
sides of the ball. I haven't been that impressed with the 49ers so far. I'm going to take the Rams money line +105, and then the Braves, Marlins, Nerfy. No runs in the first inning, -155. Braves have Bryce Elder on the mound. It's time to grow up.
The Elder wand.
The Elder
Elder
It's time to
wand.
grow up. 2.76 ERA. Let's shove for an inning and figure it out.
All right, Baby Cone, the winner of last month.
Oh,
We're going to get
yes.
to that speech. Today, he is taking the Rams, Niners, under 42.5 at -110. And he's going to take the Phillies, Astros, Nerfy, keeping it steady at -140.
Yeah,
But Cone, go ahead and read Baby
well,
Cone's winning speech of the month if you don't know.
I thought I could get out of the house this morning without,
There's
out
no
there
way
being
you're
a speech.
ace. There's
Right
no way
there.
Ace and hunting you
right there
down.
by my keys, fellas.
Yeah.
The speech. Dad, make sure you read this on the show. It's
Yeah.
my victory speech.
By the way, you suck.
Well, well, well. Another day, another dollar. Shout out to my uncles, to my daddy and my mama. It came down to the wire, but last month's in the past. Dad, stop asking for my picks. You won't always come in last. Just remember, Booster Club, there's only winners, never losers. When you make your picks with DraftKings using promo code Booster.
Oh, dude, your son's got bars.
Your son, he didn't go to Cranbrook. I know that.
Yeah, he did. He definitely didn't go to Cranbrook. You know who else didn't go to Cranbrook? The Booster Club. What are they saying over there, Blaine?
Poll.
Oh,
All right,
Oh.
guys. It kind of got brought up in the earlier this show. Always when it comes to polls, I ask the Booster Club, what are we feeling this morning? What are
Yeah.
we liking? All right. And we started talking about the game in London. And I asked them, how do we feel about NFL games in London? Do we love it? Do we love it or do we hate it?
well, I know what Cone's going to say.
Do we hate
Because
it?
Cone's an internationalist.
And Booster Club. What
Yeah.
does the Booster Club say?
I'm going to say the Booster Club says they like it, so yay, at 55%.
No, there are very few globalists in there. I say they hate.
Globalists, not internationalists.
Hate it. 66.
Wow.
Love it. 34%. I hate it.
Play those in the offseason.
I hate it.
Well, I
Go
tell you,
over
you
there
know
and
what? I understand it because it's a pro league. I get that. I don't have as much of a problem with it because it's a pro league. What I like less is when college plays neutral site
Yeah, you're
games
right.
opening up the year. Totally goes
those
against.
are college towns.
Those are college
They need
towns.
that revenue.
Name me an NFL town, NFL team that's in a small town. I'll wait. People say, oh well, Green Bay. Number one, that's not a small town, and the fans own the team. Okay, so I can understand it more there, and that's one of the teams that's going to London. Name one. Giants? No. Lions? No. Bears? No. Oh my! I mean, come on, guys. It just goes against it. You can't think of one, Blaine.
I can't.
You can't because it doesn't exist. It's Snuffleupagus.
Okay. Is the Snuffleupagus real?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Jimbo Eagle says, can we please put Knowles through the pregnancy simulator every time he loses from now on?
Oh, we can.
Man, I'm up for it.
He said something about a double or nothing.
Really?
About a double
He
or
said
nothing?
a lot of things.
Next
in
week,
that
you know
segment.
what? Who do I? Did I leave-
I think we waterboarded.
Who do I got next week? Can y'all pull up? Can y'all?
Too much?
him?
Okay.
Can y'all pull? Who do I got next
My
week?
phone didn't work.
That's what you
have next
said.
week? Hold on,
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
see.
I can't believe like guys like
Something
my
always
body's
breaks around
trained.
here.
Like I guess my body's trained. Like my phone was on the
have-
charger.
Me.
It's me and you next
Let's
week.
go.
What bet? We have to have a bet.
Who do I play, David?
We have to have a. You play Sweet Baby Gang.
You and Walsh.
At Walsh.
Ooh, you ought to side bet with Walsh.
Yes.
Loser shaves the beard.
He won't do that.
No chance
He
Walsh
won't do
does that. He likes it.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk to him, see what's up. Anything
But yeah,
else?
my phone didn't turn on this morning. I can't blame I woke up.
What?
So my phone was charging. It was doing this one thing yesterday when I was leaving. What we were doing yesterday, my phone was turning on and off. It was just weird. So like I got it home. I was like, maybe my car charger's messed up. Put it on the charger, turned on. I guess turned off while I was sleeping. Like the charger quit working, so my phone was off. Still woke up.
Nice. Did you wake up and not know what time it was because you couldn't see?
Oh,
your
I
phone?
freaked out.
In
Yeah,
panic?
immediately freaked out.
Oh, that's the worst.
Immediately.
Oh, that's the worst. So you think it's your phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get it looked at after this. Or either that, I'm gonna throw it in the woods. So.
That or I'm gonna throw it in the woods.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the Booster Club. Thanks for the donations. Gonna go live. Got some great guests tomorrow. We got Big Game Boomer and Tim Brando coming on tomorrow. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media: TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Face Chat, and Facebook.
Faceback.
And Faceback and Twitter Book. Just make sure you follow us on all that. And like the chances of the Mets coming back in the NL East, we're going. Gone.